Our Story Production presents The Road to Our Story, spotlighting an in-depth look at many of The Road to Our Story magazine's featured articles. So get ready, for you're about to travel on The Road to Our Story.
Hello, I'm Jason Howland, and welcome to Speaking of Health, a place to help you learn how to live a longer and healthier life. You know, what if I told you there was one drug that could treat and prevent dozens of diseases? Well, there actually is. Although it's not really a drug, exercise is medicine. And that is our topic today, and here to tell us more is Chip Gay from Mayo Clinic Health System. Chip is a clinical exercise specialist. Chip, thanks for joining us today on Speaking of Health.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, exercise, we all know that we should do it, but I don't think a lot of people actually realize what a great benefit exercise actually has for our health.
Yeah, exercise can help your cholesterol, can help your blood pressure, can help you feel good, helps your bone density, may help prevent cancer, Alzheimer's. There's tremendous number of benefits to exercise.
So what is the proper amount of exercise, and what are some good forms of good exercise?
Well, the general guidelines are to get at least 150 minutes in a week of moderate cardiovascular exercise. So that's walking, biking, on level ground, not real vigorous, something that you're just moving around. And so that would be about 30 minutes, 5 days a week. For some people, that sounds like a lot, but there's 23 and a half hours in the day that we can rest, watch TV, do other things.
And one of the things that I've heard you talk about before is a lot of people spend a lot of time in front of the TV, a lot more than 30 minutes a day, right?
Yep. The average person watches about 1,600 minutes of TV a week, and the exercise guidelines are 150. So if you exercised about 1/10 of what the average American watches TV, you can gain significant health benefits.
You know, when most people think of exercise, they don't think of maybe just simply walking or mowing the lawn or gardening. They think you have to go into the health club, you have to lift weights rigorously, you have to run marathons, that kind of thing, but that's not all what exercise is about.
No, there's tremendous benefits to even low levels of exercise. If you're a person that does very little exercise and you just get up and start moving 10, 15-minute walks a day, most days of the week, you can see some significant health benefits. And if you get over that 150 minutes a week, you'll see a lot of health benefits to that. And you don't have to kill yourself when you exercise.
So how does exercise help our bodies in the treatment and prevention of diseases? You hear from your doctor, you need to exercise more, but how does it actually help your body out health-wise?
Well, I work in cardiac rehab and pulmonary rehab, so that's kind of my area of expertise. As far as your heart goes, your heart's a pump. When you exercise it regularly, it becomes a stronger pump. Exercise also helps the blood vessels inside your heart, so it flows better. Most people have known or have relatives that have had a heart attack. Regular exercise can prevent heart disease if you do a moderate exercise and you stick with it. And it can help keep those arteries clean inside your heart.
Now, besides heart disease, other diseases, we talked about it earlier in the show, other diseases are benefited from exercise, right?
Cancer, especially breast cancer and colon cancer, there's strong evidence that regular exercise helps that. Exercise helps your immune function. And even moderate exercise, it stimulates that immune function. If you're sedentary, your immune function works okay. If you exercise moderately, it goes up. And the interesting thing is if you do real vigorous, real hard exercise, your immune function starts to decline a little bit. So going out and doing a little bit of moderate exercise is very beneficial for your immune function.
How about mental health? Can it benefit that?
Yes. There was a study done on severely depressed people, and they had 3 groups of people. One that took the medicine, one that exercised in medicine, and one that exercised only. After about 4 months, they all got about the same result. But the interesting thing, 10 months after the study started, only 30% of the people that were exercising relapsed into depression, whereas 50% of the people that were taking the medicine relapsed into depression. So this one particular study found that exercise long-term was actually a little bit better than the medicines.
I guess it makes sense. When you exercise, you feel better, you have better self-esteem, and eventually that's going to help your mental health, make you just feel better.
Yep. Older adults that lift weights, that exercise, they feel better about themselves. They have more self-confidence. And, if you feel better about yourself, you're going to get out and you're going to do more things.
Now, what about other benefits like orthopedic benefits when it comes to joints, bone, muscle?
Yep. The key if you're starting an exercise and you have some orthopedic issues is to not overdo it. Okay? If you overdo it, you can actually damage yourself. But regular exercise, either strength training or moderate cardiovascular exercise, will actually help strengthen your tendons, your ligaments, your bones, and so it'll actually help you get stronger. And the evidence out there says that it will help reduce pain. So if you have a bad shoulder, if you can get those shoulder muscles stronger, get them in better shape, you're going to have less pain.
How about bone density in women? That's a hot topic, and does exercise help with that?
Yes. It has to be weight-bearing exercise. So riding a bike or swimming is not going to help your bones a lot, but walking is going to strengthen your bones from your waist down because where there's impact. Okay? The best thing that you can do for bone density is weightlifting and get on a good strength training program. Only needs to be done 2 or 3 times a week, and it has to be a decent amount of weight that's going to put a little stress on your bones that helps them become stronger and maintain or even gain just a little bit of bone density.
How about getting a better good night's sleep? Will exercise benefit that?
Yep. If you get out, and you do the moderate amount of exercise, most people are going to feel better mentally and physically, and it'll help you fall asleep faster and sleep more soundly.
And how about losing weight? A lot of folks out there may want to shed a few extra pounds. Exercise obviously helps in that. How many in relationship to calories burned and the amount of exercise? How does that work?
Every mile you walk, you're going to burn about 100 calories. Every couple miles you bike, you're going to burn about 100 calories. So it doesn't, you walk a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, that's 300 calories. You get home, you eat a candy bar, you've just wiped out all of that exercise. So exercise can help with weight loss, but if you really are focusing on weight loss, you have to change your diet. One of the Mayo researchers gave a presentation and they talked about if weight loss, 90% of weight loss is diet, 10% is exercise. Once you get down to your ideal weight, 90% is exercise, keeping up that exercise and sticking with it, and then 10% is the diet. So for weight loss, you've got to change your diet. For weight maintenance, exercise. The other interesting thing is that weight loss in our society is very difficult, okay? And we have TV, we have junk food everywhere. It's very difficult for people to lose weight. Even without weight loss, exercising has tremendous health benefits. So even if you are overweight and you start exercising, you can achieve significant health benefits without any weight loss.
So what you're saying is even if you are overweight, you get out there and exercise, you may not be losing weight, but you're actually still helping your body.
Yep, you're helping yourself prevent diabetes if you don't have diabetes, or helping your diabetes, you're helping your blood pressure, your cholesterol. There's many health benefits, even without weight loss.
So I guess the $1 million question is, why aren't more people exercising? If it's this good for you, it's free, why aren't more people exercising?
That's a very individual question. Our society is, we have a lot of TV time. We've already talked about that. We're busy. We don't think we have a lot of free time, and a lot of people just don't like exercise. And they've had bad experiences in the past. They've gone out and done too much, and they're sore for 2 or 3 days. They don't feel good. And that's the key with exercise, Jason, is that the moderate amount of exercise helps you feel good. And so that's if you do decide to go out and start an exercise program, you should feel good when you're done. If you feel exhausted, maybe you did too much. If you don't feel like you did anything, maybe you got to do a little bit more.
And motivation's got to be really key. You have to be motivated to get started, right?
Yep. 81% of Americans, according to a study by the American College of Sports Medicine, want to be healthier. So 4 out of 5 Americans want to be healthier. It's just hard to do it. And one issue is there's a lot of mixed messages out there. We get, one person says you got to do this and one person says you got to do that. And that's one of the things we're really trying to work on in our system is a nice, clean, easy set of guidelines for people to follow. At least 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week. And if you're doing that, try to lift weights at least 2 times a week. Not too difficult to follow. There's no fancy things.
And it probably helps to have a partner too, someone with you that can help you through all that, right?
Yeah. Anytime you can make exercise more enjoyable, you're more likely to stick with it. I work in cardiac and pulmonary rehab. We have classes. Our patients come down, and some of them never want to quit because they like it. They're doing the right amount of exercise. We're getting them feeling good, but they're also socializing with each other. If you can socialize or make your exercise a social event, either with a spouse, kids, pets, they also need exercise. Go join a class. That can really make exercise much more enjoyable. You're more likely to stick with it.
All right, so I want to begin exercising. What is my first step that I need to do to get started?
Get up and start moving. And that's the key is if you're not doing any exercise, maybe just start with a 10-minute walk once or twice a day. Even on your, if you can walk on your lunch hour or after work. It's better to start easy and not overdo it than to do too much. I have a slide in one of my presentations that if you do 1 minute a day, if you started with 1 minute today and you did 2 minutes tomorrow and you added 1 minute every day, in a month you'd be up to 30 minutes. Now, nobody's going to do 1 minute a day, but your body can progress, and it's a very safe, easy way to progress. If you're not doing anything, you're real deconditioned, start with 5 to 10 minutes of walking. If you're in okay shape, maybe 15 to 20 minutes of moderate exercise is okay to start.
Now, should they talk to their healthcare provider before they begin exercising, or does it depend on your situation?
It depends on your situation. If you're a younger person, you're relatively healthy, you don't have any major health issues, orthopedic issues, diabetes, heart disease, things like that, you can probably start a moderate exercise program on your own. If you have a strong family history of heart disease, you've had some diabetes or some other health issues, you might want to talk to your doctor or healthcare provider before starting an exercise program.
What about age, Chip? Are you ever too young or too old to exercise?
No. Kids can start moving. When you're young children, they don't need formal exercise. They just need to move, get out and play and things like that. Just get out and do stuff. As far as older adults, you're never too old to exercise. I've started patients, and I do some strength training out of my house, and I've started people well into their 80s on weightlifting programs, and they've gotten really good results. So, and there's research that says even people in nursing homes, 75 to 99 years old, start a weightlifting program, they can get stronger. So you're never too old to improve. You're not going to get the response like you did when you're 20 if you're 80 years old, but you can still see significant health improvements no matter what age, and even if you've never exercised your whole life.
Now, what about here in Minnesota, in the winter, people would think, well, there's less chance to get out and exercise because the weather's cold, it's snowy, it's icy, I can't go out and walk and do some of the things that you talked about. But there are other opportunities, right?
Yep. Joining a health club, going walking at a mall or a school gym or any place indoors, getting a treadmill or a bike at home as a backup exercise for you is a great idea. And winter is actually a great time to get out and exercise. When you're exercising, you're burning calories, you're generating heat. And your body, when you're generating that heat, you actually stay warm. And so if you're cold and you go out and exercise, you actually may help you get warm. And so it's a great time. Winter activities, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, walking outside. If it's icy, wear those little cleats on your shoes. It's a great time to get out and exercise. And the other thing, we talked about immune function earlier. Cold and flu season is during the winter. Well, if you're doing moderate exercise throughout the winter, that's going to stimulate your immune function, and you're less likely to develop upper respiratory infections, those colds and flus that most people get.
In this day and age, too, we have such technology to help people exercise. I know there are now apps for your phone, and there's probably all kinds of information out there on the internet, and those kind of tools can be useful too, right?
Yep. There's very simple tools like a pedometer that you can wear, and it tells you how many steps you take a day. There's accelerometers that tell you movement and tell you how many calories you burn and how much you've moved throughout the day. There's apps. If you have a smartphone, you can get apps on a phone that'll tell you if you went for a walk, how far, how much you went up and down, your speed that you walked at. If you're one of those type of people that likes that data, that feedback, that can be a great thing. You don't need that. You just need to get out and move and do a little bit more and more each day. But that really can motivate some people.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're all out of time. A great topic, though. I'd like to thank our guest today, Chip Gay, clinical exercise specialist from Mayo Clinic Health System. A great topic. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a great day, everyone, and be healthy.
There you have it, folks. One of the favorite stories ripped from the pages of The Road to Our Story magazine. Let's have a look at another.
Hello, I'm Jeff Hagan, and welcome to Spinning Wheels. This is a program that talks about spinning wheels and about wheels itself. Anything that you want to know about wheels. Car wheels, bicycle wheels, motorcycle wheels. You kind of get the idea. Well, today we're excited to have with us an expert on wheels, car wheels exactly, Tom Hawkins. Tom, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, Tom, you are the president and CEO of Hawkins Chevrolet in Fairmont, Minnesota. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in the car industry itself?
Sure thing, Jeff. I graduated from St. Cloud State in 1981, and I was looking for a job. I enjoyed St. Cloud and loved the town, wanted to stay up there and find a job. During that time after I graduated, my mom and dad called and said, listen, Edgar Larson, a longtime salesman, has decided to retire and just take care of his farm, and we'd like you to come home and get some young blood in the car business. Would you consider coming home? And I thought, well, that might be a good idea, getting business with mom and dad. So I moved home in April of 1981 and started in the car business. And a small business, not too many people worked there, a couple mechanics, a body man, my dad and I. And so he taught me what I needed to know to get started in the car business. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Everybody that starts in the business, and the young business people, that type of thing, remember usually their first sale. Do you remember the first car sale you made?
Oh, Jeff, do I ever. Yeah, when 1981, if you remember, was back in the Carter years where interest rates were 18, 19%, and
Right.
the economy was tough. And so when I moved home, there wasn't a whole lot of business going on. And so when I was learning the business, I just thought maybe what I needed to do is go out door to door and just meet people. I didn't know anybody. I was just home from college. And so for whatever reason, I started going southeast of town towards Ceylon and just going farm to farm and knocking on doors. I did that for, a couple, 3 days, and I'd walk up and introduce myself and say, I'm Tom Hawkins. My dad's a Chevy dealer in Sherburne. Do you want to buy a car? Nope. I did that numbers of times. Nope, not interested, but thanks for stopping by. And probably about the third day I was out doing this, I walked up into farm place of Harold and Elsie Kaler from Ceylon. And same question, I'm Tom Hawkins from Sherburne, and we're selling cars for my dad. Do you want to buy a car? And they said, yes. And I was shocked. And they said, yeah, we're kind of in the market right now. Really? So anyway, they said, come on in and have a cup of coffee. Now at that time, I'm not a coffee drinker. I didn't like coffee, but I heard in college that if you drank, they offered you a cup of coffee, you'd have 20 minutes. So I said, okay. And so I walked in the house and sat down at their table, and out of the cupboard she pulls a jar of Folgers Crystals, of all things. So my first real cup of coffee was Folgers Crystals, and I enjoyed that. The next day they came in and took a look at a car, and at the time we had a 3-car showroom in Sherburne, and we had a Caprice Classic sitting on the showroom floor. Now this car was loaded, Jeff. It had 2-tone paint. It had velour interior with a split bench seat, wire wheel covers. It had power windows, or power locks. No power windows, still the crank windows, but it had power locks. An AM/FM stereo radio. I mean, it was loaded. It had a list price of $10,162, and I couldn't imagine who would pay that much money for a car. I'm sitting there, my knees are shaking, and they're looking at the car, and I forget how it ended, but they ended up buying that car, and that was the first customer. And so they've been pretty special to me all through the years.
What's it like being involved with your father to start out with in the business? I know a lot of family businesses have the dream of being able to pass it on to the next generation. What was it like working with your dad?
Well, it was great, actually. He started out in his life with an ag degree and worked in the ag business. And he came back to Sherburne because my mom actually grew up in the car business in Jackson, Minnesota. If you remember Marquardt Motors in Jackson,
Right.
my grandpa started in an oil company there. So my uncle was back working in the dealership in Jackson. He talked my mom and dad into moving back to the area. And Sherburne had a dealership available in 1967. So Dad bought that, and that's how we ended up there. So when I moved home, I wasn't planning to work in it, but he just basically taught me the basics on selling a car. A little bit about, because we're a small business, I learned a lot about service. I learned about customer service. I learned in a hurry about how important cars are to people and some of the pitfalls you have when people's cars break down. But it was a lot of fun. Over time, as I learned more, my dad kind of moved over to the service, and I kind of took over the sales the more I learned. During that time in Sherburne in the mid-'80s, we started getting into computer systems. And of course, by that time, my dad was not into computers that much, so I kind of took over that. So working with my dad actually was a real joy. He was good to work with. My mom also worked there for a while. She'll tell you the story. I had to fire her. Mom and I didn't see eye to eye on everything. We had our arguments. In fact, it was well known around the dealership. We'd have our arguments right there. So I finally had to fire her, but part of the deal is I had to pay her after I fired her, so she was fine with that.
Long-term severance, huh?
Yeah, so if you ever talk to my mom, she'll tell you that story. But no, working for my dad was a good beginning for me.
Good. Well, it's good to hear a little bit of a background for you, and you're still involved with the auto business, as we all know. So,
Yep.
But a big part of this program is that we have viewers that actually want to ask you some questions about the car industry itself, and I know that they want to find out what's going on when they have some questions about what we want to do. So let's go to the phones and take a couple calls.
Sounds good.
Caller, are you there?
Yes, my question for Tom is, I'm thinking about buying a car, and I don't know which is better for me, to lease or to buy.
Okay, so they're wondering about, if they're thinking about leasing or buying, they're not sure about which. What do you think as far as the different options?
Well, actually, it's a good question. There's a lot of people who ask that question quite often, and a lot of people who don't know a lot about leasing. Basically, what I like to tell people is leasing is very similar to buying. It's just basically, it's like a loan that has a shorter term with a balloon note. So in other words, if normally you'd maybe get a 5-year loan, you're paying for the whole car over 5 years. With a lease, you might have a 3-year lease, but at the end you'll have a balloon payment to pay the car off. Now there's a couple advantages of that. Number one is that usually you can get a smaller payment. And because you're not paying for the whole car, you're paying just for basically the depreciation part.
Okay.
And another advantage is that generally a new car is more affordable in a leasing situation. So those are the two biggest reasons that people lease. Because it's a little more complicated situation, not everybody does it. But it does take a little bit stronger credit to get into a lease, mainly because with smaller payments you're not building equity.
Right.
But other than that, it's a really good option. What I tell people who ask me whether they should lease or not is you need to look at how the lease is structured. What's happened in the lease business over the years is that the manufacturers on new cars have put much of their incentive money in the leases. So they incentivize the leases and makes it more affordable. So when you see an ad on TV where they're advertising a low payment $199 lease, it's because they put incentives within that lease program. And so if you're looking at a new car and you're a payment buyer, and if you're a person that trades every 3-4 years routinely, you really need to at least look at a lease and compare. Not every lease is as good as a buy, but a lot of them are, and especially when the manufacturer incentivizes them.
Okay, so basically it differs per the situation of the individual, is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Different factors then for that.
That's right. And the other thing that you have to think about is that if you're a high mileage driver, generally leases don't work, and the main reason is because leases are structured around an average mileage of 15,000 a year.
Okay.
And if you're a high mileage driver, you're on the road a lot, there's a lot of excess depreciation that comes when you put on high miles. And so by the time you add that into a lease payment, a lot of times there's not an advantage. The other advantage that people use for leasing is sometimes for tax reasons they can write off the lease as an expense on a monthly basis versus capitalizing it if it's in a business use. So that's another reason people like to look at the lease.
Okay. Well, I see we have some more callers there, so why don't we go back on the line? Caller, you're on Spinning Wheels.
My question for Tom is, what is the difference between the best price sale and traditional vehicle pricing?
Okay, thank you, caller.
Well, I'd like to say that basically we are a best price dealer. We have been since 1997, so I know a lot about that subject. And what's interesting about that is that over the years in the car business, and part of the reputation that used car dealers have had is because of the negotiation process. For years, the traditional thing has been somebody comes in and you negotiate the best price and you work out a deal and you sell the car. And so what happens, the way to get to have the best price on a car is to be a good negotiator. Know how to ask, know how to be bold. Well, not everybody's like that. And so basically in a negotiating situation, the car dealer usually wins because the car dealer is more experienced at that. So one of the problems that I had is that I was taught in this business that in traditional selling that if you sold a car to somebody the first time, you negotiate, get the deal done, but then once they know you and trust you, the next time you can make more money on them.
Okay.
Now that was true, and so but what it started happening when I'd make friends with people who'd buy cars with me, they'd come in the next time, they'd ask me, "Was that your bottom dollar?" And I'd say yes, knowing that it wasn't my bottom dollar, because I needed to make some money on them because I had the next guy who was a negotiator, I had to average out and make a profit. And I just was not comfortable in that scenario. So what we did in 97 and went to a best price scenario where we made a decision to price all our vehicles at a fixed price. We would study the market. It's more work because you have to study the market and look at the price on every car and make sure the car is affordable. But then we don't negotiate the price. And what happens is that we post that price on the car, we put it in the window on the paper, and now with the internet we put it online. So our price has to be competitive or people aren't going to buy our cars. It's out there for everybody, not only our customers but our competition can see our price.
Sure.
And if we advertise, we don't negotiate, they can come and look at our car and go to the next dealer and try to get it cheaper. So our cars have to be affordable for us to put them out there, and it's a much more better environment for buying. People are less under pressure. They know what the price is. They can walk away. They, and they don't have to worry about being a good negotiator to get a good price.
Okay. Well, thanks, Tom. And it's been great having you with us today, giving us a little insight into the car wheels industry itself. But before we leave, I understand that we have a special guest that's available with us via satellite today, actually.
That's right.
And in fact, we're going to go to the back lot of Hawkins Chevrolet for the old car guy.
Hey folks there, this is old Rusty. I'm back on the back lot here, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself. When I was a teenager, I was just like any other teenage boy. I was nuts about the old cars, and I wanted to make a living in the car business, and I was sure that was the place to be. But boy, in 1941, December, the Japanese, they changed that for everybody. In 1941, through the year, Detroit produced a little over 3.5 million cars. But by 1943, they produced 139 cars is all they produced. Because Ford, Chrysler, GM, all them, they were making airplanes, ships, boats, tanks, guns, helmets, everything you could think of made out of metal because they were all set up. But by the time World War II got over, it was just absolutely devastating to every major economy in the world except for ours. It gave us unprecedented economic and political power, and I decided, Rusty, we're going to be part of that. In 1945, 46, you could buy a brand new car for $1,020. Of course, the average guy was only making $2,400 a year. So I decided cars is the place to be, pent up demand, everything else. But I tell you what, we got more we'll tell you about some other time. I got to run now. It's break time. Time to get a donut. We'll see you again next time.
All right, thanks, old car guy. That was really something.
Yeah, he's been that way for years.
All right, well, Tom, we want to thank you for joining us today, giving us an insight in the wheels industry of the car industry itself. Before we go, though, if there are people that have questions or want to know more about you, do you have a website that people can go to?
Yes, I guess if you want to head to our website is at www.hawkinsbestprice.com. And my email is hawk@hawkinsbestprice.com. I'd recommend that if you have any questions, anything you want to ask about, I'm the car expert. I'd be glad to help you out. Even if you don't do business with us, that's fine. Send an email. If you got a question about any topic, I'd be glad to get you some answers. And you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Difference is Hawkins. So that's the name of our fan page at The Difference is Hawkins. So go there and join the page. We'll be posting things there off and on different things going on at the dealership.
Okay, well, thanks, Tom. Thanks again for being on. And we want to thank you, the viewers, for joining us today. And we'll see you again next time with more Spinning Wheels.